Hello and welcome everyone. I decided to give Football Manager 2024 a try since it was one of the new titles that went live on PlayStation Plus Extra catalog. I have exactly zero experience playing football management games, so I decided to approach it a bit like an RPG game. Since I don't know enough about football or soccer if you're watching from the west side from the world, I decided to adopt my friend's favorite team, the Tottenham Hotspurs, and so it began. Right out of the bat, I was greeted with a bunch of settings and tweakings asking me if I'm an experienced player, if I have any idea what the football managing experience is like. So I was hopeful. I thought that it was gonna hold my hand a bit, tell me how I could handle things. Yeah, it was kinda in a way. You have the option of an assistant manager, which can help you make decisions regarding your team, how to approach certain situations, and so on. After you pick your team, you have to coordinate who do you want to take and start your first game. I don't know if that's the same for all teams that you can pick. For example, with Tottenham, you begin against the reserve team. I have at least that much of an idea. Basically, the reserve team are the spare players that the one team has. Then after that, you get introduced to the team management or micromanagement, if I must say. Basically, they have a performance stat which is 0 out of 10. How are the players performing in the certain match? You also have a happiness level. How happy are they with the decisions you're making, with the decisions you're taking, with the roles that you have them suited for? Well, how happy are they with the tactics which are employed at the moment? What mentality, and so on. Basically, the mentality plays a huge part in how the team is going to perform and how each player is going to react to a certain mentality. So at the beginning, you are asked to approach them positively, which you can in turn see that improves both the performance and the mentality of the teammate. Also during the game, you are able to give out shoutouts from the sidelines to your team, and in doing so you're able to praise them, demand more from them, and one more option which I am not able to remember right now. Sorry about that. But as I said, the game, it does a fair job in telling you how you're supposed to move forward. The game itself doesn't have the best graphics. To me, honestly, it feels like Sims characters because you can see the players skating around a bit on the field, but the tactics which are employed come actually out of real soccer, because I have watched soccer in the past but not a huge fan of it nowadays. So yeah. Moving forward, the players are able to be aggressive during a game, too aggressive even. Then you're also able to with them separately and, for example, tell them to calm down if you want to keep that player in the game, for example, because if they get 2 yellow cards or directly a red card, that would mean that that player is out of the game and you're a man down for the rest of the time that you have playing. Moving forward, one option which doesn't become available right from the beginning, from the first game, is how you are able to talk to your squad in between half times. You're basically able to scold them, approach them, be more assertive, or praise them in some sort of way. If you tell them that they're doing good and their stats are not showing that, you are down in the game, that would not go positively. The influences and impacts that those sort of options have are cleverly listed right next to the option. There is also a recommendation from your assistant manager on what should be the best course of action according to him. Make sure to know that not always is the recommended option the best option. I had a little bit of experience with that. I also tried my luck at the online multiplayer, which was actually kind of good. I did a multiplayer game with no restriction, no limits, on a fantasy football team. I just basically let the AI pick out the team for me because I'm not that well versed in what player is good and not. Of course, I know Ronaldo, I know Messi and so on, the most famous players, but outside of that, I am not that good because I know those are all attackers, but I don't know any good midfielder, I don't know any good defender, I don't know any good goalkeeper outside of Oliver Kahn, well, who was famous multiple years ago. I don't even honestly know when. You also have the transfer option, which is introduced to you right after your first game. You are offered to take one of 3 players. You're able to skip the option or directly give a offer to that player. At the beginning, it holds your hand and tells you, yeah, this sum should be okay for that player. This is how much you should give them as a fee when you're supposed to take him over and so on. Also, when you take a player to your team, they have certain tasks attached to them. Let's say that they need some playing time. Of course, you need to introduce them to the team, and then you need basically negotiate the contract. If that contract is going to be full-time, what sort of wages the person going to have, and those are the main deciding factors in deciding if that player is going to take your offer. After that, you adopt a couple of principles, 3 at the moment. As I said, I approach those as a RPG style because that's the most of what I'm used to. So, for example, leadership sounded nice to me and I took leadership. Also, there were a couple of extra options. I can't quite remember what those were, but yeah, that's about it. Going forward, you'll also get introduced to these season competitions. Basically, if you play entertaining football, if the football that you play is entertaining to the audience. After that, you have groups. There are a lot of options. As I said, it was a bit overwhelming for me being a player who does not play this sort of game. But I have to admit, I had fun. Looking at the gameplay, which you're looking at also right now, there was a lot of management involved in between the first game and the second game. The second game which I played was not the second that you're about to see, but because honestly I had some issues figuring out how exactly do I manage my team and so on. I had an injured player after the first game with reserve. I would believe that is a scripted event which allows you to learn how that mechanic works. Basically, a player gets injured, you can see the description of the injury and how long are they going to be out of commission. It can be a couple of days, it can be a couple of weeks, or I expect in some instances that would be a couple of months. The game which you're about to see is with Luton. That's another one of my friends' teams. That's why I decided to add them to the video as well. So in my opinion, that would be interesting because at least I know one of my viewers is going to have fun. I hope that you are too. Yeah, so beginning of the match is quite like a normal game. You basically get introduced to these squads and then the game begins. Micromanagement begins from the beginning of the game, basically with shouts. Honestly, in my opinion, shouting at them at the very beginning that you want more helps, and then adjusting them to a attacking mentality. I went most of the time with a very aggressive mentality, which helped me honestly score some goals at the very beginning and then move back to a positive mentality in order to keep my team happy with the decisions that I make. So what I would say at the very end is basically it's an interesting game as of management aspect. It's really not my cup of tea, but I can clearly understand how people can enjoy that because micromanagement is a huge part of the game itself. If you want to live a life of the manager, I believe this is the game for you. The graphics are nothing more to speak of, not that FIFA, or as they call it now, FA 2024, 2023, and so on. And I believe that the new one, which is going to come out, will not have any major improvement in graphics. They're not something to speak of, but the management aspect is what's interesting about the game. Please make sure to leave a like and subscribe if the video helps you in your decision. It helps me provide more and better content for you. With that said and done, thank you very much for watching, and see you next time. Bye bye.